I've been using the Poco F6 for a little over 2 weeks now, and during my time with this phone, I've had mixed feeling. While it's been hyped as a flagship killer, I think there are some things you need to know before buying this phone. Now, specs on paper, it looks like the perfect budget phone. I mean, it is powered by the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 with a 6.67-inch AMOLED display and a 120Hz refresh rate paired with almost 1.5K resolution. It has an IP64 dust and water splash resistance, and you get 8 gigs RAM and up to 256 gig storage space for the base model that I have here with me. You get a 50 megapixel primary camera, 5000 mAh battery and 90 watt fast charging, all for the price of around $400. It's a bargain for sure, at least on paper. Using this phone every day for the last 2 to 3 weeks is a different realities. They cut a lot of corners to keep this phone affordable, and these are some of the corners where you might not necessarily want to compromise. Hello, I'm Audu and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you for being here. We review all kind of tech gadgets, smartwatches and whatever tech, anything tech, we review it on this channel. If that is something that you'll be interested in, kindly subscribe and stay tuned as we deep dive to know more about the Poco F6. Let's quickly talk about the contents in the box that include the phone itself with a dark gray silicone case that I like. You also get a 90 watts charging brick, USB A to C cable and some paperwork. I would say they have been generous enough for the content in the box, because even phones that are directly competing with the Poco F6 in terms of price don't give you these accessories in the box. I would say that the design of this phone isn't anything exceptional other than the big camera rings at the back of the phone. It has a plastic build, which is surprising because the Redmi 13 is cheaper and it has a glass back. At least that's it for the first place, you know, the cut corner. Plastic is more durable though, because glass can break or crack easily. The phone feels lightweight in the hand, and you also get the IP64 rating against dust and water splash. The back of the phone is slightly curved, improving the overall grip, and you get the buttons on the right side that feels tactile and easily reachable. There are 3 different color options, but I have the black with me here. The titanium colorway is my favorite, but it wasn't available when I bought this unit. The phone isn't slippery in the hand. There is a bit of texture, and I'm surprised at how well it hides stains and smudges. The black colorway is actually supposed to show fingerprint stains and smudges, but surprisingly this phone hides that, and I even use it with the case, so it's not something I'm worried about. The design, I would say, is nothing exceptional, but from a user perspective, they paid attention to how it feels in the hand. You get 2 speakers that are quite loud, and you get to feel the bass as well. You get an IR blaster for controlling electronics and a SIM card slot at the bottom of this phone. It supports 2 SIM cards with 5G on all SIM card slots. You also don't get a headphone port on the phone. It's something that they took off coming from the Poco F5. Now, the fingerprint scanner of the phone has been moved to the display, and it's quite fast. The placement is near the bottom of the display, and I find it a bit weird. It's actually supposed to be a little bit at the top so that I can reach it quickly. The display is 6.67 inch, which I find not too big, and the refresh rate is 120 Hz. The resolution is 1220p, which is close to 1.5K, and the display of the phone is protected by the Gorilla Glass Victus. It has Dolby Vision support as well as HDR10+. It has a fast response rate, making it suitable for gaming. There's an option in the settings to dim the brightness even lower than you get with the brightness slider. Outdoors, there is also another option in the settings where you can take it all the way up to like 2300 nits. Averagely, it's around 1300 nits, and it's quite okay outdoors. The refresh rate makes scrolling smoother on the display, and you get 2 options to choose between 60 Hz or 120 Hz. I set mine to stay at 120 Hz all the time, but there are instances when it can go all the way down to like 30 Hz if you have the always on turned on. Consuming content is pleasing because the display is colorful. I can't forget the haptic feedback while typing on this phone. I'll say it's good. The display quality isn't the best when compared to other phones around its price, but I'll say it's decent for the price. The Poco F6 is running on Android 14, and HyperOS is the interface. Xiaomi has promised at least 3 years of software updates on this phone and 1 extra year of security updates. While there are a lot of customizations you can do with the software, there are some aspects that I feel are not well polished. I also don't like the fact that there are ads on some parts of the interface, especially when you go to like the change the wallpaper, you get this ad. There are also times when notification will just intrude this phone from nowhere from apps, and there are times when they also suggest some apps that I should download, basically taking from my data, knowing the type of apps that I use the most and suggesting apps for me to install on the phone, which is something I don't really find well. The bloatware situation on the interface is also a problem for me. There are many installed apps. Some of them can be removed and some can't be removed. Now, the only AI feature available on this phone is the AI image expander in the gallery app, although there are rumors that with future software updates there will be more AI features on this phone. While the HyperOS is surely a heavy software, the phone handles it seamlessly because of the chipset. I've seen iterations of the HyperOS on the Redmi 13 and is not as fluid as what you have on the Poco F6. Software is definitely an area you need to consider before buying because you are not getting a clean experience, and around the same price I feel there are other phones that do better in terms of software. Now, performance is obviously one of the strengths of the Poco F6 because it is powered by the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3, which is a top-down version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and it's built on the same 4nm architecture. I'll say it beats any phone around its price, and apps open up quickly, and it even retains a lot of apps in the background, which is something I really like. I'm someone who is heavy on performance. I prefer my phone performing better than maybe the camera. Now, I was impressed with the gameplay. This is the first phone that I used to play Genshin Impact, and I'll say the refresh rate while playing the game stayed consistent, and there were no lags even after I played games for like long sessions. I also played Call of Duty Mobile a lot on this phone. I didn't even know I was good at playing Call of Duty Mobile until I started playing it on this phone. I was actually getting a lot of wins in that game. Performance is flagship-like, and it is where they put all the value on this phone without compromise. It also doesn't overheat even after long sessions of gaming. The temperatures seem to be very okay, something I can live with, and it's obviously because there is a cooling technology inside this phone that makes it stay warm while gaming, not overheat. Now, one thing is the camera aspect. I feel it's not the best camera system around this price range. You get a 50 megapixel new Sony sensor at the back alongside an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens. Up front, we have a 20 megapixel selfie camera. Daylight photos are impressive. There isn't much noise in the picture, and they appear to be well balanced in terms of color. Green seems to appear well in the photos, as you can see, and you also need to know that I use the 50 megapixel option hidden in the camera app for more details in my pictures. With skins, it seemed to overprocess and sometimes inconsistent. Definitely not the best, but I'll say it's usable. The ultra wide camera also does good in well lit situation, but the color seemed to be a bit washed. The selfie is quite impressive, but nothing up to the standard I was expecting. The contrast is okay and colors too, just the bits of noise in the images. What about low light images, photos at night? I'll say they are decent and colorful using the 50 megapixel option in the phone. The ultra wide lens is mostly great as well for low light. I would say the camera is above average, but certainly not as good as I was expecting, considering the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 is what is powering this phone. The phone can shoot videos at 4K 60 fps, but the sweet spot is like 4K 30 fps. You get good stabilization on the camera. Now, the Poco F6 has a 5000 mAh battery, and I'll say that the battery life is quite okay. You're getting a complete day of battery life, and with just 15 minutes of charging, you get up to 50% battery. It takes a little over 30 minutes to charge this phone from 0 to 100 using the 90 watts charger that comes in the box. The Poco F6 may not be available everywhere in the world, and it might not be the flagship killer you want because of the small compromises they made in some aspects. Performance in its price category is unmatched, but apart from that, I don't think there is any other thing special about the phone. I can also say that it's a great phone for gaming on a budget because of how it handles different games. What else do you want to know about the Poco F6? Something that I didn't talk about? Let us know in the comment section. You can also check my review of the Redmi 13 and Redmi Note 13 showing on your screen right now. I'll catch you in those videos.